I wanted to talk about a very specific kind of tension because I've been feeling it. There's this space between what I think is fear and obedience. How I could best explain it to you is, when God is calling you into something different and it's really big, it's really unfamiliar, it is even stretching to you, that you recognize that it's going to require a new version of you, or just a different version of you that does not fully exist yet. You don't even know who that person really is. And because you're honest with yourself, part of you is terrified, right? But you know that you love God. You know that you trust God. You know that because you understand the implications of not doing the thing. And you also understand, on the other side of this, you understand the cost, the responsibility, all those things that may have to change, that may have to die, that you might lose in the process of you becoming the version of you that needs to sustain this thing. Somewhere deep inside, you know that you can't say no, right? And for blueprint people, or blueprint women especially, I think this space can become emotionally exhausting. And I think over the last couple of days, I have been emotionally exhausted. I am building something that I've never seen before. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know that God has called me to it. Even though I've said to myself, really, Lord, is this what you want from me? Am I just doing this because I'm in it and maybe I won't care about it, a couple years from now? And I keep getting the same answer that no, this is actually something that I'm supposed to be building. But that does not stop the emotions that are around it. Me constantly analyzing the implications, me thinking about the costs and the uncertainty and the consequences and the responsibility that I am taking on my shoulders now. And then what could go wrong, right? What could change? That I could fail, right? And I may lose something, or who I may become in this process. And so I think obedience has started to become heavy for me. But here's what I have also realized in the last couple of hours before deciding that I was going to talk about this is we've spent an entire quarter talking about release, right? And come sis with me in the prayer rooms and the well rooms. We've talked about releasing control, comparison, survival, fear, old identities, things that just no longer serve us. And I think eventually the question has to stop being, what am I being asked to release? And actually start asking ourselves, what am I going to do with the space that is now left once I released? Is this thing on? Welcome to Come Sis With Me, the podcast, real talk, biblical wisdom, and practical tools. I'm your host, Mia Randall, your wellness architect. Each episode is designed to help you align, release, and create a life you actually want to live. Honestly, it's more like my personal journal that I read aloud to my sisters in the world every week. Okay. So what I realized this week is that release is never the destination, which is why my ARC method doesn't end with release, right? It goes straight into create. And that's because God never empties our hands so that they remain empty, right? He empties our hands so that he can place something new in them. He doesn't remove things simply for the sake of removal. He removes things because he's preparing you to do the next thing, right? I talked about this with a client the other day about endings not always being so bitter, right? That everything has to end before something new can begin. And this is a scary time for us because ultimately we have never taught endings well, society-wise, culture-wise, world-wise. I don't even think we've done it well in the church. And so the invitation to end something and start something new is always a little scary to us. And release comes with that invitation. Hey, a new job, a new build, a new ministry, a new calling or assignment, whatever it is, new responsibility, new levels of leadership or new roles are asked of you. And suddenly everything that you released starts knocking at the door again, right? Because of course it's like, ooh, look at this. Let's see if I can get back in. Fear, control, overthinking, self-protection, negotiating, do I really want to do this? Right? Because obedience is expensive. I get it. Blueprints always count the cost. We don't ever just do something and be like, I'm just going to go out on a whim. That's not us. I sometimes wish that I was one of those people that just jumped, right? I don't ever just jump. Because obedience requires trust, right? And so a blueprint, if nothing else, we're going to trust what is taking place. But I also am going to count the cost, because I like to know how much stuff costs before I put my checkbook out there, right? Before I put my yes out there. But just in kind of talking myself off the ledge is that fear does not always mean rebellion, right? So maybe you're in a space where you are trying something new, you're building something new, and you're asking yourself, am I supposed to be doing this? Should I do this? And you keep getting the answers that yes, you are supposed to be doing this. Yes, you are in this. And so then you start negotiating, well, can I do this, right? Fear does not always indicate that you are rebelling, right? I think Moses is a good example of this in the Bible. When God called Moses, he responded with questions, excuses, yes, some self-doubt, absolutely, insecurity, yeah, but literally he asked, who am I? Like, how can I actually do this? And I actually have asked myself this week, who am I that you would even choose me to do this? And that doesn't mean that Moses wasn't fearful. He was just a little reluctant. And yet God still called him. He still called him. I mean, even Esther, I think there was a chance there where she even kind of rejected when Mordecai was like, hey, not rejected, but, she questioned, like, what are you talking about? And he was like, if you, like, this may be the reason why you are where you are. And we say this all the time, like, if it's not you, then it may be somebody else, but this is maybe where you are supposed to stand up and stand out. And that wasn't symbolic. It wasn't even metaphorical, right? Her response wasn't like, I'm excited. Her response was like, I guess if I perish, I perish, right? Like, and that's where I've been at this week, is like, all right, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do it. But if I perish, I perish. And I just trust that you're going to get me through the emotional uncomfort or discomfort of this, and that my surrendered courage is just going to be enough in this season. And I think for us, right, sometimes obedience feels very terrifying. It feels expensive. It feels overwhelming. And my pastor actually just said last night that he didn't want us to use the word overwhelming. But I think in this sense, overwhelmed with knowing that you are going to be obedient, but that you don't know what is to come on the other side of that, isn't a sign of rebellion or even a sign of something negative. I think it's a sign of your extreme awareness. And I don't think God is surprised by any of that. I actually think that is something that he internally built as part of our default system, is that we are extremely aware of things, sometimes to our own default, to our own detriment. And I am here to say, like, that it's okay for you to be a little reluctant. What's not okay is for us to constantly struggle deeply through transition seasons like this, seasons of releasing all the things. And then there's this space, there's this gap between the release and the create season. And I'm not going to cry, but maybe I will. But it's okay to feel like, oh man, this is a lot, and not question your faith in this, because it doesn't mean that you lack faith. This is just you perceiving deeply that there are, I went to the prayer warriors. She had an intercession dinner and it was amazing. And one of the things that she did was highlight everybody's like prayer mode or the form in which you take, like the role that you take. And she had me as a decoder. And decoders are really good with patterns, recognizing consequences as a result of not picking up patterns, right? Responsibility. And that comes with, like, that extreme perception comes with emotional weight. Like, me being able to perceive things deeply means that I can see things that others don't typically see really quickly, and then I get to analyze the emotional weight of it and the future implications that not just will happen on them but on me too. So if you're not careful, discernment can become paralysis, right? Like this week I have felt so stifled in things, but I've made myself kind of push through it, because I recognize, like, I'm just seeing patterns. I'm just seeing things that eventually I will become the solution for, and that's okay. It doesn't need to happen right now, but tomorrow, like if I start trying to solve tomorrow before obedience in my movement today, now I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm running beyond the grease, right? And I want certainty. I want clarity. I want understanding before I move. But scripture has been so good to me this week. It repeatedly is showing me something different, that peace often comes after you move, after you're obedient, not before it. And that matters because people are waiting to feel ready before they move, and you can't wait till I release all of these things to create. Release is a consistent time throughout our journey that I don't think we give enough care. And you spend so much time thinking that you're getting ready for something instead of actually doing the things that will get you ready for them. The problem is that readiness is built through movement. And so if you're always thinking like, I got to release before I'm ready, I got to release all these things, I got to be perfect, right? You can't do that. It's like waiting till the perfect circumstances before you can walk or ride a bike, right? Confidence comes after taking steps. Babies are like stutter stepping, right? Until they actually start moving. But if they never took that first step, they're not ever going to move. They're not ever going to walk. Driving is the same way. You don't ever get behind the wheel, you're never going to drive. I know 60-year-olds are like, I ain't driving, because they never conquered the fear, never released the things to get up and go. And most of the meaningful things that God will call you into is not even going to begin with confidence. It's not even going to start there. It'll begin with trust. It'll begin with never feeling fully ready, never feeling fully confident and like, can I do this? Right? Not having every answer, not even being certain that this is even the thing, I think sometimes. But if you're waiting for those things, you're never going to move. So I did a post on Instagram, cute picture of me, and it says, doing what scares you is often what creates confidence. Not waiting till the fear disappears, because what does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. Fear does not have to disable you. Fear sometimes, I think, is an emotional response to something that obedience is calling us into. Because obedience gives you the evidence that God is faithful. Right? Oh, Lord, thank you for even giving me the grace to jump into this and be courageous. Joshua chapter 1 comes to my head when I think about, this part of the puzzle of just being confident is, be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous is repeated several times. And Joshua's still afraid. But Joshua, he had an assignment, and what God gave him was presence, not certainty. And being present with the Lord this week has helped me walk through a lot of uncertainty on some things, a lot of things that he was telling me, just shut the door. I went to a stretch conference. Shout out to Lady Courtney Boyd in Maryland. She put on an amazing conference, and the the overall arching theme was stretch. It was based on Isaiah 54, verse 2, about like stretching wide. And I was thinking about my assignment currently that I have and how it is asking me to stretch wide. It's asking me to put pegs in ground that I've never conquered before, that no one has conquered before. I don't even think they've thought about the idea. But the principle behind one of the speakers' teachings was that sometimes we just need to shut the door on something. Sometimes we just need to not learn more, not talk more, not research more. You just need to like take the thing, put it in the room, shut the door, and just go about your business. One of the examples that she gave was in 2 Kings 4, where the widow comes to Elijah and she's desperate and she's drowning in debt. Her sons are about to be taken. Her future feels super uncertain. And Elijah tells her to gather empty vessels and go in and shut the door behind you and your sons. And she did it, right? Like she ain't asked no questions. She ain't do none of the things. But because she just shut the door and she just did what she was told to do, like she moved, miracles happen, breakthroughs happen, seasons separated. A season when she didn't have enough turned into a season of overflow. And the Lord highlighted like what happens when you just close the door on some of those things. We've released, so close the door. The oil flows, not before, but after. Yeah. So practically, what does that look like in your life? I think some of us are consuming too much information, that there's no room left for revelation. And that's a dangerous spot specifically for blueprints to be in, because if information is not the same as wisdom. Why do I feel like crying? Sometimes God isn't asking us for another podcast. He's not. Sometimes he's asking me just to be silent, right? Everything doesn't need to turn into content for a podcast. Sometimes he's just like, man, just be silent for a second. Put your phone away. Travail in prayer. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Be social media free. Something that's just taken place over this last month is I have not been as present on social media as far as like posting things that I have been over the last couple of months. And at the beginning, it kind of stressed me out. But then I realized like, I'm actually okay. I don't need to be on there as much. And the only reason why I thought I needed to do that is because I'm looking left and right. I'm not looking up, right? Has me stop scrolling before bed. I'm super intentional about bedtime routine now, and intentional about creating that quiet time, that space with him. Shutting the door on opinions. Here's one thing that I tried to do that I know that I can't do any further is I tried to kind of dumb myself down in the position that I hold with what I'm building, this organization that I'm building. And it's because I think it's because I tried to build up this survival or this protection around other people's opinions of how I serve in that position. And the reality is it's my vision. And so if I don't own it, no one else has the ability to own it, right? I have the ability to give it away, which is what I think I've been trying to do, but I need to own it because everybody doesn't get access to the vision like I do, right? Everybody, and people's opinions sometimes here, the opinions that I'm trying to save myself from, I need to learn how to not allow their votes to overcome my obedience, right? Some people shouldn't get access to the process. Some people shouldn't get access to the becoming. And I just need to have better boundaries in place. That's literally just me needing to have better boundaries in place. And I don't need every voice to agree. Because the more voices that you start requiring for the agreement, then the harder obedience becomes. So I've had to figure out who belongs in that inner circle and guard it with my life in this season. Because not everybody can get a front row seat to what God is building through me. And I think I'm okay with that now. This week has been really trying for your girl, but I'm good with it now. I'm definitely good with it. Think about how you can limit multitasking. Think about doing one thing at a time, finishing one thing before you focus on 50 million other things. That's definitely an issue. When your attention is divided, you can't get into deep stewardship. Deep work requires spiritual stewardship. And so just being reminded that your fractured attention is like pretending to be productive. And you can't do that. Last week, I tried to multitask a multitude of different things. I have, several projects that I'm a part of building. I have my own things that I'm doing. And the ability to just talk myself down went out the window because I'm divided in attention. And so this week I focused on one thing and I'm like, this makes perfect sense. Do one thing, finish one thing, focus on one thing. And finish doesn't mean like the whole thing is taken care of. It means finish on this phase, like separate your work into phases. I just did that this week and I think it's really helping me a lot. So my declaration for you today is that you will shut the door on distractions. You will shut the door on fear so you can walk in faith, so that you can hear God's direction, that you will shut the door on unnecessary voices so that you can hear God clearly, and that you won't confuse activity with obedience. Right? Shut the door and make room for the oil to flow because it's time for you to go deeper. You have released. Kudos to you for releasing the things. Don't allow anxiety and fear and control to try to roll back up in there and steamroll you. Your current self knows obedience requires transformation. And so transformation is always going to threaten control and comfort and coping mechanisms and familiarity and old identities. But your spirit deserves for you to say yes. Your nervous system might panic a little bit, but that doesn't mean that you've missed God. It just means that you're growing, and that's okay. Sometimes it's about the transformation more so than the assignment, because transformation is required by the assignment. So it's okay to feel uncomfortable, sis. Growth requires surrender. So just surrender to it. Stop negotiating with God. Go back to what he told you to do. Some of us are listening already, knowing what God said. You've known for months, for years, right? And you're still negotiating. So just let that be the confirmation today. Okay? Release fear, release all the things, and walk in this space of empty of all of those things that actually don't serve you anymore while you're on the journey to creating with the Lord. Lord, strengthen my sisters, give them discernment, let them shut the doors on all distractions in this season, and let them be people who listen to you and feel stretched between fear and obedience, but are not overwhelmed by it. They are actually encouraged by it in this season. Give them grace to obey. In Jesus' name, amen. If today's conversation resonated with you or is meaningful in some way, share it with a sister, follow the podcast, and leave a review. Or if you want to share your story and help shape our sisterhood, go to www.thewellness-architect.com/podcast and click on share your testimony. I would be honored to hold space for your voice. Thank you for coming for the stories and strategies and staying for the sisterhood. Until next time, sis, be well. Bye. Is this thing on?